The background of the song was I was about 14, 15 years old. I was a freshman in high school, and I came home on spring break from my parochial religious boarding school I was attending, where we were not allowed any interaction with the opposite sex whatsoever. And went out with a buddy of mine who lived across the street from me and met a friend of his who I fell for immediately. She was a freshman at Northwestern University, black hair, green eyes, beautiful and lingerie model, and I was completely swept away by it. But she had very bad habits. She was a very serious heroin addict, and uh, pulled me into it a little bit. I was able to get her to pull off of it for a while. She became codependent on me, and started losing it. Started wanting to expose our relationship, which had been a secret from my family, who obviously wouldn't have approved. She wasn't Jewish. I wasn't allowed to date. I wasn't allowed to speak to girls, let alone date. And she would call the house all times of the night. She'd send friends of hers over to the house, telling them bullshit stories that I beat her to kick my ass, so for some sort of vengeance. People I had befriended through associating with her. And it just got really, really bad. And I broke things off with her. I left Chicago and went to another boarding school in Los Angeles. And she started dating my best friend. My best friend started complaining to me, which was obviously a very nice thing of him to do. He started complaining to me that she would do nothing but talk about me, that she was calling out my name during sex, that she was still very, very obsessed and not free of anything, and asked me to call her. And I tried on a number of occasions, and any time I got on the phone with her, she'd go into immediate hysterics and wouldn't let me get in a word edgewise unless I was willing to say, let's get back together, which I wasn't. And I came back for spring break again. We ran into each other at a party. Apparently, since we had broken up, she had gone back to the heroin doubly as hard as she had before. And she had seen me briefly and ran out. And I ran out to kind of avoid a conflict. Went home, and I got a phone call very, very early the next morning from that same friend of mine saying that she had killed herself that night. They found her in the corner of a club after she had ran out of the dormitory in a fit of tears and hysterics, and they found her in the corner of some club, slumped on the floor with the syringe still in her arm. And then on the way to the hospital, that all she would say is that it was because of me that I wouldn't be with her, that there was no point living if I wasn't with her. And he was obviously good enough to tell me that over and over again. And I went to the funeral, and the imagery from inside the fire comes from that moment at the funeral when I was standing over her open casket. And mind you, that was the first time I had ever seen an open casket. And looking at her dead body and having those images come through my mind. Her father lashed out at me at the funeral, said it was my fault, said I should have said something to them. I was just a kid. I didn't really know how to handle it. I don't know that there is a right way to handle it. And I had nightmares for years about it. And to be honest with you, for whatever reason, you finally reach a place in your mind and a peace in your mind. I finally had a very nice relationship that I'm in the middle of, and finally had found love, and I guess that was when my demons started to come out again, once everything else was quiet, and I started having the nightmares again that I used to have. And that was when I first talked to Danny about the subject matter that I was thinking about writing for the song, and decided to go with it. That ended up being my catharsis. The accident and the disaster, and other disasters, but we'll only stick to that one. I had just fixed, I had just gotten the bike and was getting ready to have it fixed up to take it down to Sturgis. And I was on my way to my buddy's shop, and this guy cut me off, and it wasn't even going that fast, maybe 25, 30 miles an hour, and he just turned right in front of me whether I was coming or not, and I had to hit both brakes, the front and rear wheel locked up. I had to lay the bike down because I was still moving forward, and so I skidded along the pavement. You can still kind of see the wonderful road rash scars that are still kind of there, but skid along the pavement for about 7 to 10 feet, ripped off all the flesh off my forearm, and bike came back up from after hitting the ground, skipped out from under me. I landed on my feet. Bike went, spilling out across the street, and this guy who cut me off in this Ford Explorer just took off. And so I hit the ground on my feet and ran after him, and then the people who were at the accident that saw it after I'd gotten up, and I didn't even take the time to pull the bike out of the street yet, they held me down. They're like, no, what are you doing? I'm like, no, I have to go after that guy. He just cut me off. I'm like, no, you don't realize what just happened to you. You just scraped along the ground with 700 pounds of bike. So I stopped there for a second, and then all of a sudden this van came over, door opened. They had recognized who I was. It was a van full of Mexican gentlemen. They're like, come on, man, get in the van. We'll go get the guy. We saw what happened. That's bullshit. Let's go after the guy. So I jumped in the van with these guys, run 4 blocks down, and there was the guy pulling into this house. So I took down his license plate number, and I took down the address of the house, went back to the accident site. The police and the ambulance are waiting there for me. I get in the ambulance. They're pulling the asphalt out of my arm, and I'm bleeding all over the place, and they asked me, what happened? I told them what happened, and I gave them the information to go get the guy. They went in and they got the guy, and his excuse for running off was that he didn't speak any English, and he had to get his daughter to translate for him. He had some Mickey Mouse insurance, and didn't really add up to much, but I got the bike fixed in 2 weeks' time, really quick. My buddy pulled it all together, got an awesome new paint job on it that I only got to see for a few days, and went up to Danny's house to work on some of the material with him and Mikey, and came back with the new CD of fresh stuff, popped it in the stereo at home, after pulling the bike back in the garage. Mind you, this all happened after taking it 1,000 miles to Sturgis, riding it 500 miles at Sturgis, and trailering it 1,000 miles back from Sturgis. I'm in the house for maybe 2.5 hours, and a neighbor comes pounding on my door. Get out of your house, your garage is on fire. I grab my dog, Lisa, run out of the house. The garage is going up in flames. Apparently it was a fuel leak from the bike that was ignited by the hot water heater in the garage that heats the rooftop hot tub, and it exploded, blew out the garage door, ripped it right off the hinges, and destroyed the bike, my truck, and the garage. So it was not a very pleasant day. Or days. No, we're not concerned about it. We
played plenty of shows with Slipknot in the past.
We love all those guys. We love everybody on that bill. I mean, it's a powerful monster movie bill.
And that's, once we heard some of the lineup, that was a big reason for us to want to do it. And I think just the heat with us coming out with new material, new album, and Slipknot going into the studio and have an album coming out, it's supposed to be the end of the summer. It's just going to be the big summer tour to be on, so we definitely wanted to be part of this.
We also have always been motivated by being on a bill with a lot of other powerful bands. It makes us step up our game. I think it makes you a better musician, or better musicians, when you are on a bill and share a stage with other bands that you respect and admire. And we certainly respect and admire many of these bands, and so I think it's going to, harness a little bit of friendly competition, so to speak, and I think we'll be looking to, for all of us probably, to step up our game so everybody gets to reap the benefits of that.